welcome back, guys. We're going to be doing red. For those of you guys who haven't seen the previous videos, we've already done the introduction, white, blue, and black, so make sure you guys check those out. They're already uploaded and on the YouTube channel for you guys. But today we're going to be doing all of the red cards, scale 1 to 5. Yanks is on the call again, and we're going to be talking about some sweet limited gameplay. So we're going to start with this red pump spell, which seems pretty straightforward. 2 mana instant. Target creature gets +4/+3 until end of turn.
Yeah, I feel like this card would be a little better if it, I don't know, maybe if it was even less than +4, but it gave like trample or something.
Oh yeah? Would you like it if it was +3/+3 in trample? Does that sound like a card that you might be interested in playing, Yanks? I really like Run Amok, and he hates it. I agree. I think if it gave trample and was a 3/3, I would play it. This I'm far less interested in playing without trample. So
I am staring at my foil Run Amok right now.
I do think that this is like a 2.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, it's just a worse Titanic growth, but red usually gets slightly worse stat-wise power combat tricks than green. So that fits what you would expect.
I like Run Amok more than I like Titanic Growth, so meh. All right, Arcane Bombardment. We have a 6 mana mythic enchantment. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard, then copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment. You may cast any number of copies without paying their mana cost. Did I read this weird? Exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard, then copy each card exiled. Okay, so the first time you get to cast, well, exile one at random, cast it. The second time, you get to exile a card at random, cast them both. And so they just stack, and you're casting more and more spells every single time you do the thing?
Yes, but it only works once per turn.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm really only interested in casting 1 that equals 2, that then equals 3, that then equals 4. That seems fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're really, for 6 mana, ever going to have the critical mass to do this in Commander. I just read EDH on the screen in Limited.
Yes, in I was like, in Commander, what are you talking about? Like, you could do anything. Like,
yeah, I just saw somebody said something about EDH, and I was like...
My issue with this card is that the number of premium instants and sorceries you'd have to have in your deck is not likely to happen. Now, some decks, yes. If you're the God Rakdos removal deck, maybe. But my issue is that you're not going to be able to trigger this very often. You get it in play, you've got the stuff in your graveyard, that's great. But usually you only have like 5 instants or sorceries in your deck anyway. Right? Like, maybe if you have a lot of draw spells, that feels pretty good. So this is maybe more like an is it like type of effect.
I mean, even if you assumed every instant or sorcery you had was like of equal value, like you play this card, so you've spent 6 mana and done nothing and spent a card. Then you play an instant or sorcery and get back something random for like 2 or 3 mana. And then you're still behind. You have to do it again before you're even really even. And it doesn't even account for the times where you brick on, like, you hit like an antagonize with nothing to do with it. Or
I'm guessing that, like, the things that you have, like, this is a split card. It feels like a 1/3. And the way it is a 3 is if your deck is full of premium removal spells and draw spells, right? So, like, you're like, okay, finally play this, play my removal spell, randomly hit my draw spell. The next turn, you know, the draw draws you into more things. I feel like you have to have like 3+ draws, 4+ premium removals, and I feel like it's also a trap card because you're going to feel like you want to run shitty spells, and you should not.
Yeah, and you have to have the right number in your graveyard versus the ones in your hand. Like, I don't see ever playing this card.
Yeah, I think the bare minimum is 6 premium spells. And I'm considering this, but it's not happy.
Yeah, and at that point, if you have that much premium removal plus all your creatures, you don't have room for a 6 mana enchantment that doesn't do anything when you play it.
It does if you don't have a lot of other ways to kill them. Like if you need to be gaining more spells in order to win the game. Like, it is kind of a win condition at the end there. If you're getting to then draw more cards and kill things for free, that seems fine. But it is a very, very specific deck. Yeah, I think this is like a 3 in the premium spell deck, which is not going to be great.
Yeah, I think this is like a 1, 1.5.
All right, I'm going to give it a 1/3. I think one of the biggest concerns is that this isn't a format built for spells. I've been pretty unimpressed by like the black removal. I think that's where we would want that, but we'll see if it exists. All right, big score. We have a 4-mana instant as an additional cost to cast this. Discard a card, draw 2 cards, create 2 treasures. So this is Unexpected Windfall?
Yeah, just easier to cast.
Yeah, and easier to cast. That seems fine. And Unexpected Windfall is like seeing constructed play right now. So this is a standard playable common right now. That seems neat.
Yeah, Unexpected Windfall was never great and limited, but it was always playable.
Yeah. And this is a 3-color set, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a bump there. I think this is like a 2/5. Games are going to go longer, so we're going to have extra mana. We're going to need 3 colors.
Yeah, I'm probably closer to a 2, but it's certainly a fine card to put in your deck.
Call in a professional, 3 mana for an instant. Players can't gain life this turn. Damage can't be prevented this turn. This deals 3 damage to any target. Okay. Sort of like a Bone Crusher effect, can't prevent, which is neat. Does shield prevent? How does shield work?
Yes, that's what I was just about to say, yes.
Okay, so this just gets around shield?
It says it actually put in reminder text on the card.
Oh, I didn't keep reading.
Don't prevent this damage as they're removed.
Nice. So that's cool. It still removes the shield counter in addition to not preventing the damage. That's kind of cute.
Yep.
Ooh. So if they attack you with like a 6/6 with a shield counter on it and you just like block with your 3/3 and then you cast this before damage, it works. Yep. It does the thing. Okay, this is good. I like this card. And creatures don't seem to be too big outside of green. We haven't got there yet. This seems like a 4?
Yeah, this is a 4.
Great. All right, Daring Escape, 1 mana for an instant speed spell. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains a 1st strike until end of turn, scry 1. This is always meh. It's not impactful enough for me to be excited about it. Feels like a 23rd playable 1.5 card.
Yeah, exactly. You can stick it in your deck if you need to, but...
We did see a card that says whenever you target, do a thing. So if we end up finding more of those like in green, maybe this is some sort of Naya build that could make this reasonable, but for the most part, I think this is a 1. Devilish Valet, 3 mana for a Devil Warrior with trample and haste. Whenever another creature enters battlefield under your control, double the power until end of turn. So a lot of things are going to be able to make tokens at instant speed. There is like a Gruul enchantment that can indeed sack a treasure to make a 1/1. So you could be using things for threat of activation. In Constructed, this will be cute with like the red Kamigawa land. You can make 1/1s at instant speed, doubling and tripling them, doubling and then redoubling the power on this. But that said, it's kind of good even if it isn't. You just play your creatures pre-combat and get to attack with like some spicy stuff. It's kind of fine.
Yeah, I feel like the card's fine, but in order for it to be good, I feel like you need to have reliable ways to get 2 creatures out on the same turn. Otherwise, it's just a 3 mana 2/3.
Yeah, which is pretty on rate, and sometimes it's a little bit better, and it tramples.
Yeah, sometimes it's also just a 3-mana 1/3.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worse.
Sometimes it is worse. It feels like it's in the very aggressive creature deck, which is what red wants to be doing, especially with blitz and stuff.
Yeah, I guess I need to see red having enough ways basically to be able to play either multiple spells or get multiple tokens in the same turn.
Yeah, this
again,
being a
I'm
token
playing-
set does seem pretty reasonable to me. I gave this a 2/5.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
All right, Exhibition Magician, 3 mana for a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Create a 1/1 green and white citizen, or create a treasure token. All right, I'm into it. I like treasures.
Cards like this are great with the last one, right? Because you get 2 creatures.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, it's a 3-color set, and the treasure is super relevant, and ramping on turn 3 going into your turn 4 is super important. Getting, your 5 drops out on 4 is always very, very nice. So, this feels like a 3 to me. I don't feel like we're ever cutting this.
Yeah, I think that's right. We gave that white flyer that drew a card, we gave that like a 3/5, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because this is definitely worse than that, but
yeah, totally different type of deck.
Still good though. Yeah.
This also fits really well into like the Rakdos sacrifice synergy with the 1/1 token, gives you the fodder for the sacrifice mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 3 makes sense.
Glittering Stockpile. We have a 3 mana artifact treasure. You can tap it, pay 1, add a mountain to your mana pool, and put a stash counter on this. You can tap to sacrifice it, add X mana of any color, where X is the number of stash counters on the pile.
If you're in the market just for like a 3 mana rock, then this is fine because you get a little bonus on top of it. But
the little bonus is a one-time deal, and it doesn't like help fix. It doesn't create one of 2 colors, which I tend to like. It doesn't then draw you cards at the end like you tend to see with colorless. This seems way more restrictive. I don't really like this card.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm only playing this if you're just in the general 3 mana add 1 or add red.
I don't tend to like mana rocks in my red decks.
No.
It seems like the opposite of what we want. I would do it if I needed a 3rd color, but this doesn't fix that.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree.
I'm going to give this a 1. It feels like a big miss. Unless there's a fireball in the format, then maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you could play it with that triple blue spell to draw a bunch of cards.
Oh, sure. It doesn't really help you cast the blue if you need it, though.
Yeah, it does, because you can sacrifice it for all blue.
Yeah, later, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's what if you're feeding into like a fireball type thing.
Gold Hound.
It is.
Go ahead.
I say it is. I'm just checking another card. It is a treasure. Which could matter for like it lets you sacrifice a treasure.
Make a 1/1
to do something. Yeah.
So it's a 3 mana 1/1 if you need it in a pinch, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else that we haven't seen yet that could be relevant for as well.
Okay. Gold Hound, we have a 1 mana 1/1 with first strike and menace. You can sacrifice it to add 1 mana of any color. This fixes, it's aggressive. It's a treasure dog, that's kind of cute. I like that you have the option to fix your deck if you need it, to ramp if you need it, and it's just a 1/1 menacing first striker is just kind of aggressive, and I could see being played a lot in some of the more aggressive red decks.
Yeah, I mean, this card's fine.
It's a 2?
Yeah, I think it's a 2.
All right. Horde Hauler, 4 mana 5/5 vehicle with trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token for each artifact they control, which oftentimes will be none. It's a, trampling 5/5 that crews for 3. It's probably seeing some play regardless.
Yeah, just a large, hard to deal with vehicle. Crew cost is reasonable.
Yeah. Is this a 3/5?
Yeah, I think so, because there are going to be some times where you get some free treasures out of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting treasures out of it consistently. If like there's just more artifacts than we expect, this probably goes up to a 4. I just don't know that I've seen enough to be impressed with that, and I just assume it's a 4 mana 5/5 trampler with crew 3. And my concern is that crew 3 is still quite steep, and sometimes you just can't activate it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Involuntary employment. We have a 4 mana sorcery, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap it, gain haste. Now this is a sacrifice format. There is a lot of things that allow you to sacrifice, and this is also kind of a treasure format, and it produces a treasure at the same time, which helps ease the ability of that. So this is probably one of the times where it's a lot more playable than it typically is. Probably not as playable as it was in the D&D set, but this is actually probably more playable, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I refuse to accept that these cards are going to be good until they prove it.
I think because it even makes the treasure token on its own, I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt for casualty in the format being quite good. And there was a lot of other sacrifice options that weren't casualty as well. I think there's enough that I like this card. I'm going to give it a 2/5. And specify that it's only the sack deck.
Yeah, I'm probably closer to like 1/5 on this.
Wow, that's like one of the biggest differences we've had so far.
Yep.
Jackhammer, 2 mana equip. For 2 mana, equip creature gets +2/+0. Yeah. The equip cost isn't too steep, but I just don't know that I'm willing to put that in the deck for what it does. If we have a lot of token generation, then this is something I'm possibly looking for, but doesn't create a creature, doesn't give value, doesn't give treasure, it doesn't really do a ton.
Yeah, this is just pretty low impact.
Yeah. This is like a 1/5.
Yep.
All right, that's tiny text.
Jaxus the Troublemaker. It's a 4 mana, 3 and a red for a 2/3 legendary human warrior. You can pay red, tap it, discard a card, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card, sack it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery, and it has blitz for 1 and a red. So it basically lets you discard a card to create a blitz copy of a creature you have.
Which is neat, because you can discard the land, attack them for whatever, and then redraw from the land. This is pretty good.
Yep, now you can get blown out because you're targeting a creature, so if it gets killed in response, you get nothing.
Yeah, but if you're cautious on what you're sacrificing, it's not like a super heavy blowout. Like, it messes with your whole turn because you're tapping this, paying mana, discarding a card. But if you're discarding lands, like I said, to gain value, then you're not really losing too much at that point. If you're discarding premium spells just to get bigger, like aggressive swings in, yes, that can be a blowout.
Yeah, I kind of feel anytime if you're trying to be aggressive, if you've just taken 2, they've with 1 spell have taken a card out of your hand and 2 of your attackers out of play for the turn. That's pretty bad.
Well, one of your attackers.
Well, the one they kill plus this.
They kill.
Like if they're killing the creature in response.
But that was a creature that didn't exist and wouldn't have otherwise. So it's taking part of your turn, right, the 1 mana and your land for their premium removal spell.
No, I'm saying if the target, the creature that's already on the board that you're copying.
I see. Yes, but that's likely a creature they would have gotten anyway. Like, the removal spell is going to hit something, and as long as what you're discarding isn't super valuable, I think that's not the end of the world. Again, if you're discarding relevant things to be more aggressive, that leaves you far more vulnerable to big blowouts. But for the most part, if you're using this just like as tiny chip damage and or just to discard and loot spells or loot cards, then I think that's not the worst.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the card's good. I think that's a much bigger downside than you do.
Discard a card.
I still think this is like a Like a 3/5, maybe?
Yeah, I'm on the fence between a 3/5 and a 4. I think I'm going to push it to a 4, just because I think it's very flexible. I like this card.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a 2/3 that just gets killed by every removal spell for 4 mana without doing anything.
Yeah. That's true. So it doesn't have any lasting effect on the board. It's not a big bomb. So that's why I drop it down to a 4. If it had a lasting effect on the board and I felt like it could win the game by copying and looting and being aggressive by making additional attackers and looting, then I would give it a 5. But it doesn't leave that lasting effect on the board. So I'm okay with it. This card seems quite good to me. Light 'em up, 2 mana for a sorcery with casualty 2. So you can deal 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and if you sacrifice, you can do it again. This is bad. Why do we pay 1 extra for a sorcery speed shock? And then they're like, but you can cast 2, but it costs you a 2/2. That's not better.
No, it's not good, but you'll still play 2 mana, deal 2. You're not happy about it. But I think this still makes it into your deck.
Do I often play sorcery speed 2 mana, deal 2? I don't think that I do.
I don't think I'm taking this early, but I don't think if I have this, I'm probably ever cutting it. I mean, there's going to be a deck with a crazy ton of great removal, that's sure, but...
Yeah, Yeah, no, this is bad. Doesn't go face. It's sorcery speed. It costs more. Very rarely am I going to want to sack a 2/2 to kill a 4/4. It's a bad 2-for-1. It's playable, but can we just get shock, please? Like, I feel like that's not that unreasonable.
Oh, I agree. It's not. When you compare it to things like that, yeah, it's bad, but...
To things like that, it makes it... When you say it like that, it makes it shock sound super powerful.
No, but you're talking about like a standard staple, right? Like, I don't like this card, but there are plenty of times in a limited format where I've got a useless vanilla 2/2 staring across the board at a 5/4. Yeah, I'd be perfectly happy to 2 for one myself for that, rather than just have a useless creature on the board. I'm not saying this card's good; it's not, but I do think you end up playing it.
Yeah, I'll end up playing it some of the times. I think this is like a 2. This is the big hit to red burn. Red is not looking good so far to me. We got a 2 mana 1/2 with menace. When it attacks, target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. You can blitz it. So it's a 2 mana with menace attacker, 2/2. And you can give something else the plus if you want, which seems pretty minor. And then you can cycle it away if you want. Pretty low impact to me.
Yeah, it's probably just like a 2.
Yeah, agreed. Plasma Jockey. We have a 4 mana 3/1. Whenever it attacks, target creature and opponent controls can't block this turn, and you can blitz.
This card reminds me a lot of I can't remember the name. It's from Fate Reforged. It was a goblin you could dash and they couldn't block.
Yeah.
This is like a good thing to blitz because this is the sort of thing that kills people out of nowhere. Because now you have 1 more attacker they were expecting and they have 1 fewer blocker. It's a 2-creature swing.
Yeah, it is definitely a big swing if they're not expecting it. And like, even if you do play it out, it's not a terrible ability to have if your opponent is creature light. If you're red, you'd probably have a fair amount of removal. Red, black, whatever. You're going to get some good value out of just having more creatures than them. So I think this is a playable card, but...
Yeah, Goblin Heel Cutter is what I was thinking of. It's a 3/2 and is the same dash/blitz cost.
Someone commented on the last card saying it's better Red Bear. No? Yes, it is a Red Bear plus, but I don't think it's a plus to bring it up much more than a 2. Like a bear is typically our 2, and I just don't think that the menace really does it for me because it's not a relevant menace. It doesn't have like death touch or anything, right, to stop it. It's just going to get double blocked and die.
It's also worse on defense. It's just a 1/2.
Yeah. And I don't think giving the +1 to a different creature is relevant in any way, really. Like,
Yeah.
so minor. So we rated it like it was exactly a bear. With a teeny tiny upside. What do you think on the rating on this card? This is like a 2.5? So situational, but it feels playable.
Yeah. I almost want to give it a 3, but it's not because you can only do it once as opposed to heel cutter. So yeah, it's probably a 2.5.
All right, Professional Face Breaker, great name. 3 mana, 2/3, human warrior with menace. Whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. I'm in. Let's play. Sacrifice a treasure, exile a top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. This feels fantastic. One of my favorite cards so far.
Yep, and there's one of the spots where like that mana rock being a treasure or a treasure dog could be relevant.
Yeah, this is a menacing creature for only 3 mana as well, so it's likely going to make some treasures on its own. So I'm just fine with this card. It feels like a 4 to me. It can win the game if, left for a few turns, played on curve. Some pretty strong card advantage and ramp and fixing.
Yeah, I'm probably a little closer to 3.5, but I can see it as a 4.
All right, we have a 5 mana 4/4. Whenever attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 devil that when it dies, deal 1 damage. That feels strong. The devils are surprisingly good. And you can just blitz in a 4/4, can just kill people sometimes.
The devil tokens are staggeringly annoying to deal with.
They are. They make blocks so funky. Like in order to deal with this, they can't block that kind of thing. Yeah, I like this card actually. This feels like a 3, almost a 3/5 to me. I'm happy to play this just for 5 mana. The blitz is a nice bonus, but it feels like a good 5/5.
Yeah, I'm in the same range as you. I really like this card.
Would you like it at a 3 or a 3/5?
I think a 3/5. I think it's close. I think the flexibility of blitzing it maybe pushes it a little bit up for me.
I like that, yeah. All right. And the fact that they're devil tokens, too, is really nice. Like, we've been getting a lot of things that make 1/1s, but they don't make devils. That feels pretty powerful. Having several devils on board is going to be tough to deal with.
Well, yeah, right. Every devil, if it's attacking or in combat, trades for 2 1/1 tokens.
Yeah. All right, we have the Pyre Arsonist, a 3 mana 2/2. You can pay 1, tap it. It deals X damage to any target, where X is the number of permanents you sacrificed this turn. Very synergistic card. We're not going to be sacrificing things in every deck, but black-red does want to sacrifice a fair amount of things. You pay 1.
And any treasure you sacrifice.
That's true. And red-green makes a lot of treasures, so that fits pretty well in there as well. So oftentimes this is going to be like a 2/2 for 3 mana, and like it does some ping damage, like ping for 1. Makes X1s pretty terrible. Makes treasures amazing. This feels strong. I mean, in some decks it's going to be unplayable, like a 3 mana 2/2 is just bad. Feels like a split rating card because it's...
Yeah, it probably is a split rating, though I feel like it feels like so many red cards are making treasures that that will help fuel this, and the fact that you can sacrifice literally as many of them as you have for free.
Yeah.
And obviously use them to pay for this. I'm
wondering... It is going to be very dependent on your treasures. I feel like if there's going to be the Naya decks that focus more on the white side of things that isn't going to be super happy to run this. I can see decks that don't have synergy enough to make this a viable option.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like, and then it's very powerful in a lot of synergistic decks, like up to a 3/5.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I think so.
Someone says this seems powerful as a 1 of. I think I don't think that's true. You're when it is really good, I think I want all of them. And when it doesn't, I want none of them.
Agreed.
Is is it black, green, red? No, right? That's not an option?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Black, green, red is the premium for this because you've got the casualty stuff, you've got all the treasure stuff from the Gruul cards. This is going to be a great, great card in that deck. Holy smokes. Shout out to Melissa. Welcome to the channel, hun. We need to pick the name of our podcast coming up here soon. Maybe we can pull Twitch chat on that in between colors here. Ready to Rumble, 5 mana for a sorcery that says choose 1. Ready to Rumble deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker, or destroy target artifact. And there's a few relevant artifacts and vehicles, so I think that this is playable. We tend to see 5 mana deal 5 to a creature is not super uncommon, and that's, you know, playable on the top end of removal. And then the artifact is a nice bonus, I think, in this set.
Yeah, this is basically a reprint from Dominaria. I mean, Fiery Intervention. It's a little different because this can hit planeswalkers and that couldn't, but otherwise it's the same card. And that card was always begrudgingly playable.
Yes, but I think the artifacts are more relevant in this set, in addition to the planeswalkers, which has minor value.
Yeah, I don't know if either of those would change my rating on the card. There was a lot of equipment in Dominaria you needed to get rid of. Plus, like Icy Manipulator and Juggernaut. And
Juggernaut didn't bother me so much. I'm just thinking, like, we've seen 5 rare vehicles in the set. There's 1 in white. There's 1 in red. There's 2 in colorless. I think there was 1 more. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm looking.
And I think I saw 2 or 3 powerful equipments. There was a good white equipment. There was 2 colorless equipments. Yeah, I like the artifact side of this a fair amount. The fact that you can kill a creature and put something like this in your main deck is super important, and it will come in handy a lot more than you might think.
Great. The flexibility that this gives you is great.
And in a previous set, I didn't feel like it, you know, in some sets, it didn't really feel like the flexibility was needed, so it didn't give it a boost. All right, so I think this is like a 2/5. 5 mana deal 5s are always good. You want them sparingly. I'll sometimes play up to 2 of these.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, Riveters Initiate. We have a 2 mana 2/2 with a flexible mana cost that says it gains Death Touch until end of turn. This is fine. It's interesting to see this in red, but I like this. We're probably not cutting them. This is like a 2, or this is like a 3 actually.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see Death Touch in red often, but that's the hybrid cost. Death Touch shows up in both black and green, so it's kind of their way of putting it in red, I guess.
Yeah, having to activate it every time is a little bit much, but normally, even just in green, you would pay 3 for that ability if it didn't need the activation. And just the threat of activation is important, especially in your red, because it lets you attack and be aggressive with your 2-drop, and then play a creature post-combat, so I'm fine with this. I think it's like a 3.
Yep.
All right. We have Riveters Requisitioner, 2 mana 3/1. When it dies, create a treasure token with Blitz. Okay, this is just the aggressive 2 mana 3/1 that then fixes and ramps you and gives you treasures to do shenanigans with, like ping them with your other uncommon. So this feels fine.
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing we neglected to note on that other card is that Blitz is all sacrifice as well.
It's true, yeah.
This is interesting. It's the first Blitz card we've seen that costs more to Blitz it.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's making the treasure. They don't want you to use it as like a ramp situation, but I think this is fine. Happy to... Yeah, ramping on 2 seems a little funky. I would agree with that. This is probably still a 3, only because the red deck wants to be aggressive. This does everything I want red to do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. This card's very good.
All right. Robb the Archives, 2 mana for a sorcery with casualty 1. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So that is, and it's a sorcery speed. Well, that would make sense because it would say then this one. But normally we see this for the same mana cost and often at instant speed for the following turn.
Yeah. I think this is just strictly worse.
This gives you the ability to do it twice if you have a little 1/1, but the chances are that because it's in the same turn, you're not going to be able to use those cards anyway. This feels a lot worse, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's arguably better, like, very late game. Get rid of a creature that's useless on the board, and now you've got 4 cards, and you probably might have enough mana, but yeah, I don't think that limited upside is worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it works because like 1 or 2 of those are going to be land anyway, so you get to do the things. But for the most part, I think I would still rather the instant speed and or the one that like gives you 2 turns to do the thing, because that lets you helps you hit your land and stuff too.
Yeah, agreed.
A lot of times I'll cast that on 2 to make sure I hit my 3rd land drop and hope that I hit a 2 or 3 drop as well, which is a thing. So you don't waste your turn 2. This would be a waste in turn. You can't cast this turn 2. It's just strictly a late game card, which feels really bad. You need at least 5 mana to cast this for any value.
Yeah.
I'm not into it.
A fan.
2.
Yeah.
Sizzling Soloist, a 4 mana 3/2 human citizen with Alliance. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, the creature attacks during its controller's next untap step if able. Okay, so that's kind of neat in that it works and it builds on itself. So you cast it the first time, you make something not block. You cast it the second time, you make something else not block, plus it has to attack you, removing it as a blocker the following turn, letting you do the same thing the next turn, removing more and more blockers. So kind of cool. It's a little expensive, but I like that it is like a continuous way to do that.
Yeah, I think the ability's fine. I think I don't know. It's pretty expensive for something that requires like a constant stream of creatures. To do anything.
Yeah. It's 1 mana higher for this like sort of iffy ability, which I think is okay. So this is like a 2 or a 2/5 for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably a 2 unless you have a lot of
Blitz.
Reliable like Blitz or a lot of cards that can make 2 creatures for 1, so at least you'll get that ability off of 1 card.
Yeah, agreed.
The second trigger.
Super creature heavy deck, it'll get the bonus up to like a 2/5. But we'll give it a 2. Sticky Fingers, a 1 mana enchant aura. Enchant creature has menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Huh. A lot of treasure synergies, so I like this. There's an uncommon in the multicolor that says like sack a creature, make a dude, which isn't really relevant. I could see running that. Having, multicolored decks makes this a little bit more reasonable. Menace is certainly not a bad thing, especially when we're seeing Death Touchers in red. Seems solid. What do you think, Yanks?
Yeah, and it replaces itself.
Whenever enchant creature dies, it replaces itself. Yes.
Yeah. So I think this card is okay. Playable, but I'm not looking to play this. I guess unless I have like a really rough mana base.
I don't know. I'm seeing enough treasure synergy to where I'm quite impressed with it, and I feel like gaining treasures will be a nice bonus. And the fact that this replaces itself, there's just no downside. We've seen multiple uncommons that just eat treasures, right? Ones that like deal damage, ones that create creatures. It being a 3-color set, I feel like there's a lot of upsides here. So I'm going to give it a 2/5.
Yeah, there are still downsides, right? It get killed in response, it gets bounced. Where this is just a dead. This is now you've gotten 2 for 1.
Well, if it's getting bounced, it's tempoed. It's not really 2 for 1.
It's 1 for 1 plus tempo, yeah.
Yeah, right. Which in red depends, and that's the downside of it is those risks. But that said, you can play your auras carefully and cautiously. And once you get 1 or 2 triggers out of this, it's done its job. And you're no longer running those risks, especially in red when you're so aggressive. I can see, like, especially if you're on the play, you play a 2-drop, they play a 2-drop, you play this, go to town, get your treasures. And that'll feel pretty great.
Yeah. This might just be a style of play thing. I'd be surprised if I cast this card more than like once or twice this set.
Okay. I'm super into this treasure theme, so I'm planning on drafting that a lot. It's the thing I think I'm liking the most so far. Strangle. 1 mana for a deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker at sorcery speed. Yeah, I'll take a creature only lightning bolt at sorcery speed.
Yep. Yeah, not much to say here. Just really good removal.
Yep. Still 4. I think the creatures in this set aren't too big for 3 damage to not work enough of the time for me to downgrade it.
Yeah, it's just too efficient.
Yeah. It's much better than a 2 damage, 2 mana sorcery. Very happy that this is at common as well. Structural Assault, a 5 mana sorcery, destroy all artifacts. And this deals damage to each creature equal to the number of artifacts that were put into graveyards from the battlefield this turn. Not a limited thing that we're looking to play. If you're in a sealed pool and your opponent has treasures, it could maybe be cute, but like we're not excited. We're not considering this a card.
No.
All right. Torch Beneath, X and a red, costs 2 less to cast for each, or if it's costs 2 less to cast if it's targeting a blue spell, can't be countered, deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. So if it's a blue creature, you just can burn for 2 for 1 mana. Hey, we found our shock! We have a blue shock at instant speed! Yes. It counts your own treasures? Yeah. My deck would have to make a lot of treasures for me to want to run a board clear that relied on my treasure capacity to blow up the board.
Yeah, that requires you to lose all of your treasures and blow everything up.
And if you're behind enough to where you need to blow up the board, you probably didn't have the opportunity to play enough treasures.
Yeah, because you've either been spending them to stay alive, or you've been spending them to stay alive.
Yeah. Or you were just didn't make them, that's why you're behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is fine. This is like a creature fireball. I'm running this every time.
Yeah. No, great removal spell.
4.
Scales up. Yep.
Unlucky Witness, 1 mana for a 1/1. Human citizen, relevant creature type. It's a conditional shock? Oh, yeah,
well,
we were joking because the shock was so bad. Yeah, it's not actually a shock. Unlucky Citizen, 1 mana for a 1/1. When it dies, exile up to 2 cards from your library until your next end step. You may play those cards. Great, we found our better looting thing.
Yeah.
I want to play this in my black-red decks that want to sacrifice creatures, to duplicate the casualty thing and then get more cards off the top. This seems fine. And I like that it lets you play it on the following turn, which plays perfectly with casualty because most of your mana is already going to be spent. So that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, synergistic cards, so it's not going to be playable in every deck, but it's like a 2/5 in the decks with casualty.
Yeah, agreed. It's a kind of 1-drop you want to be playing in those decks.
All right. I was like trying to look at this. I was like, is this like an anglerfish? It looks so weird. But apparently it's a Phyrexian Praetor. We have a 5 mana with haste, 4/4 legendary creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Great. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they would draw a card this turn, instead they exile the top card of their library. You may play it they may play it this turn. Okay. Ooh. Huh. It forces them to play all their stuff that turn and doesn't give them a card advantage. It gives you a card advantage on your turn by letting you draw plus get this. That's cute. It's only a punishment for them if they don't if that's not what they want to do with their turn.
Yeah, there's no upside for them.
Wow. and it's 5 mana 4/4 with haste. This seems fantastic.
Yeah.
It kind of needs to survive in order for it to get the value more than one turn. So it's like a 4/5, but if it draws you a card on your upkeep, I'm happy with this being a bomb that wins games.
Yeah, and you can play the cards. It's not cast, so you can play lands.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen the set review, oftentimes 5s are only reserved for the things that win the game kind of almost no matter what. Typically things that come into play and blow up the board, come into play, remove a creature, and then have to get removed. So anytime you're guaranteed a 2-for-1 or anything, this creature can win the game, certainly, but if you play this and they remove it, it doesn't do anything, right? It hasn't done a thing to win the game. So very game winning. So we give this a 4.5, should you get to untap with this card. Moving on, we have Widespread Thieving. 3 mana for an enchantment with Hideaway 5. Whenever you cast a multicolor spell, create a treasure token. You may pay Wooburg. If you do, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Okay, so
except you just paid 5, so
yeah, but most likely those 5 is treasures.
Yeah, it's just funny that you may pay it without paying its mana cost. They just made you pay 5 to do that.
Yeah. It's a sweet treasure generator for only 3 mana.
Yeah, this card seems like a massive do-nothing.
It is. If I've got those treasure payoffs, I would consider this. Not for the hideaway ability or anything, just for the fact that I would be making extra treasures to trigger my other minimum 4 payoffs. Like the uncommon guy that like bolts people, which is pretty sweet. And I would have to have not only 3 to 4 treasure payoffs, I would also have to have a high number of multicolor cards, which, though there is a lot of them, they are spread around multiple wedges. So it'd be tough to splash a lot of different color things. I don't think you're going to have a maximum amount of multicolor cards to make this worth playing.
Yeah, I feel like I would need not only to have a lot of gold cards, but I would be wanting to be like 3 colors splashing stuff in the other 2 before I wanted to play this.
But then even then, you don't draw this, then those cards are just unplayable at that point. It's so tough.
Yeah, I mean, I would only be able to do that if I also had other treasure generators and stuff like that. But
and the big treasure payoffs, yeah. There's a deck for it. I just don't think it's going to be at all playable in all the other ones or any, even the deck that would want this still probably doesn't run it. So, I'm going to give it a 1 and like specify that there's a deck that will play this, but
Yeah, I will say, to be fair, if this format is slower, then this gets a lot better because it's more likely you can afford to spend 3 mana.
Yeah.
And not get, run over.
You just need a lot of things going on. You need payoffs for treasures, because by itself, I don't think the ability is all that good. Like, even if you're just like planning on making 5 treasures with your multicolor cards to get a free card off the hideaway, I'm not really interested in it.
Odds are it costs less than 5 anyway.
Yeah. Well, you have to have at least the 5, multicolor creatures in the deck to hit enough of them to be able to pay this, right?
Yeah.
You need 3 treasures, your 2 main colors plus a treasure or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Witty Roastmaster, 3/2 for 3 with Alliance that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Thank you. I'm going to play 2 HG at PAX this week. Come on, baby. Eee! Let's go. 2 HG. Yeah, it's fine. It's at rate on its own, a 3/2 for 3 that this slowly going to ping your opponent to death if you keep playing creatures. I'm into it.
Yeah, this is like the equivalent of blanking on the name. I'm trying to look it up. The Zendikar Rising creature. That was basically the same thing in
the lizard when you played a land.
Yeah, it's basically the 3 mana 3/2 that pings with X mechanic from the set.
Yeah, a land lizard. Yeah,
At least that was a 4-mana 3/4, but same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a 3.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I might be a little lower on that, but it's in that border range between 2, 5, and 3 for me.
Yeah, I think the creature part of it is like so broad that you're going to get enough chip damage out of this to make me happy. And oftentimes these aggressive red decks don't need a lot of extra reach to finish the job because you like get in pretty aggressively, get them to like 6 or whatever, and then they just have this inevitability, which can be tough to deal with.
I don't know. It dies to really bad shock.
Does, but thankfully it's really bad and they're not going to be seeing a lot of it in play, I don't think. 4 mana, 5 mana for a Reach Trampler 4/5. This is going to see some play. It's a 4/5 for 5 mana is fine, and it has sneaky reach. This thing's going to kill so many flyers.
Yeah, does not look at all like it has reach.
This should not be reaching. Why is this? I mean, I get that it's got
a very big chain.
It's got a big chain, but it's also like in the rafters of one of the high-rise buildings, right? So that's like kind of the premise is that this guy works in the welding rafters, which is fine, but this is going to kill some flyers. Like, you guys, if they have a flyer on their side of the board, don't touch this guy. Like, don't give them any reason to look at this card. Just don't touch it. Don't hover over it. Don't do anything. They will never know that this has reach until 6 weeks into the set. And by then, the set's almost over.
Yeah, it's one of those where they start going to attacks and, you pick up your pen like you're going to take a couple damage from the flyer.
Yep. Pick up the pen, perfect, and then let them attack for 2 in the air, and then you just gobble it up with this idiot. Great.
Yeah.
This is a playable card. I think it's like a trample and reach. 2 abilities. I'm down to give this a 3.
Yeah, I think it's a 3.
It eats Goldspan Dragons.
Yeah, this will never be on the same battlefield as Goldspan Dragon.
But it's funny.
It is funny. There's this dragon. Oh, I got a big chain and ball by my dragon.
You never know, man. You never know. Casual magic's a thing. All right, that's it for the red, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought of the color red here in the streets of New Capenna. Is it good, bad? How do you think it compares to the other colors? If you guys didn't see those are already posted, and we'll be posting a new color each day. So thank you guys for watching. Yanks, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.